My name is Emily Carter, and I never thought I would be sharing my life story like this. If you were to look at me from the outside, you'd probably think I had it all. An amazing husband, a beautiful home in Chicago, and a life that many would envy. But behind closed doors, my words, my pride, and my inability to see what I truly had almost cost me everything. It all started one ordinary evening. My husband, Daniel Carter, walked into the house after a long day at work. He wasn't a flashy man. No luxury cars, no expensive suits, no high-paying executive job. He was just steady. He worked as a high school math teacher, and while the paycheck wasn't extraordinary, he loved what he did. The kids respected him, and he always came home with stories about how he helped one of his students finally understand algebra or calculus. But me? I wanted more. Or at least I thought I did. That evening, Daniel sat down at the dinner table and asked me about my day. I don't even remember what set me off, but instead of appreciating him, I sighed and said words I will forever regret. You know, Daniel, sometimes I wonder if I should have waited. Maybe if I had, I could have ended up with someone better. Someone who could give me the kind of life I deserve. The words left my mouth sharp and cold. I didn't mean them the way they sounded, but once they were out, there was no taking them back. Daniel didn't argue. He didn't shout. He didn't even defend himself. He just stared at me for a long moment, his hazel eyes filled with something I couldn't quite read. Then he said quietly, "If that's how you feel, Emily, maybe you should find someone better." I laughed nervously, trying to play it off like a joke. "Come on, Daniel, you know I didn't mean it like that." But he just nodded. "Maybe you did." That night, he slept on the couch. I thought he was just angry, that by morning he would come back to our room and things would go back to normal. But I was wrong. The next morning, Daniel got up early. He made coffee, packed his lunch, and left for work without a word. When I tried to text him, he only replied with short, polite answers. Something was different, and I could feel it. Days turned into weeks, and the distance between us grew. He stopped asking about my day. He stopped making plans for us on weekends. He stopped trying. It was as if my words had flipped a switch inside him. One Friday evening after school, Daniel came home, sat me down at the table, and said, "Emily, I've been thinking a lot about what you said. About you wanting someone better. And I realized something. I deserve better too. I deserve someone who appreciates me. Who doesn't see me as a second choice." My heart sank. "Daniel, I didn't mean it. I was upset. I was stupid. Please don't say things like that." But he shook his head. "You can't just throw around words like that and expect them not to matter. You called my bluff, Emily, and I'm calling yours. If you think you can find someone better, go ahead. But I'm not going to stick around waiting for you to realize what you already had." And just like that, he packed a bag and left. I thought he was bluffing. I thought he'd be back in a day or two once he cooled off. But days passed. Then weeks. And he didn't come back. At first, I was angry. How dare he walk out like that? How could he just leave our marriage over one stupid fight? But the longer he stayed away, the more I realized. It wasn't just one fight. It was years of me taking him for granted. Years of me comparing him to men who drove fancier cars or had bigger houses. Years of me failing to see the quiet, steady, loyal man who had always put me first. I tried calling him, texting him, even showing up at his parents' house, but he wouldn't see me. He sent me one final message. "Emily, I love you. But love isn't enough if I'm not respected. I need time to figure out if we can ever come back from this." Those words broke me. For the first time, I realized I might actually lose him. I started noticing the little things I used to overlook, the way he always filled my car with gas so I wouldn't have to stop after work. The way he always cut the crust off my sandwiches because he knew I didn't like them. The way he never forgot my birthday, even when I sometimes forgot his. And there I was, the woman who told him she wanted someone better, when all along I already had the best. Months passed, and the silence between us became unbearable. Finally, I wrote him a letter. Not a text, not a call, an actual handwritten letter. I poured out everything. My regret, my shame, my apology. I told him I finally understood what he meant when he said he deserved someone who appreciated him. And I asked him for one last chance. Weeks later, I got a reply. It wasn't long, but it was enough to give me hope. Emily, I got your letter. I don't know if things can ever go back to how they were, but I'm willing to meet and talk. Daniel. When we finally sat across from each other at a small cafe in downtown Chicago, it was awkward at first. But then he looked at me the way he used to, and I knew, maybe, just maybe, I could fix what I broke. It wasn't easy. Rebuilding trust never is. But with every counseling session, every late-night conversation, every tear-filled apology, we slowly found our way back. And here's the truth I learned the hard way. Sometimes we hurt the people we love most with careless words. Sometimes we don't realize how good we have it until it's almost gone. But if you're lucky, if you're really, really lucky, you get a second chance. I almost lost my husband because I thought there might be someone better. But now I know there will never be anyone better than Daniel.